All right, we got another one. Seem to be on a bit of a Polaris grind, as you'll see in some of my future videos. But this time we picked up a Polaris Sportsman 335 4x4, as all the Sportsmans are. This one was about 2 hours from my house. Was definitely worth going to get. The guy was asking $1,000, and I offered him $800. He said it ran. I had electrical issues, but yeah, he said it wouldn't really run right. It's been sitting for a long time. He said most of the summer. He got a side-by-side, and it's just kind of been sitting. So I offered him $8. I drove 2 hours and tested her out. She ran fine for me, at least good enough to pay $800. So I picked her up, got her home. You know, it's a Polaris Sportsman that's been around the block. Definitely a little worn out, but the guy was super nice. He had the title for it. Well, he didn't have a title. He had a certificate of origin, which isn't very common in Ohio, but you know, it is a 99, I believe. I can't remember what year it is, but yeah, it came with a certificate of origin and everything from the original dealership. So it's kind of goofy. It's got this, he said the bike was stolen at one point from the guy before him, and when he got it back, he didn't have a key, and so he put this switch on here, which is apparently just a kill switch or a bypass switch for the key. And then he also installed another switch right there, which you can't really see. It's this tiny little finger switch, which apparently is a kill switch for the whole thing. I don't know, it's kind of goofy, but it does work as long as this is flipped down. When I got there, we did have to pull start it, and let's see, yeah, the pull start works fine as long as this switch is activated. So, but she fires right up. It's not that cold today, but she does have a pretty low idle, and she will bog out if the idle's too low or if it's too cold out. But you can kind of tell she's gonna die here in a second. But she revs out for the most part. Ain't perfect, but for $800, I'm not gonna complain. So this is what I picked up. Got a pretty good tear here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do foam repair or if I'm just gonna go straight over it. I don't know yet, but I'm definitely gonna do this seat. It's looking pretty worn. So I think in this video we'll upholster this seat and clean her up. A good spit shine. I think this quad will look pretty decent. Unfortunately, none of the lights work. With everything bypassed, the battery was dead, so I'm guessing, yeah, none of the lights work. I'm guessing that the battery had died, and what's very common on these Polaris Sportsmans is when the battery dies, it takes out a lot of your electronics. It'll usually blow all the bulbs. That's the most common thing, I think, is it kills all the light bulbs. And I've heard it kill other stuff too, but that's what happens when you run a completely dead Polaris battery on these things. And that goes up to, I'm trying to think of what year they fixed that, but it was a very common issue with these Polaris Sportsmans. So overall, I mean, it's a worn Polaris Sportsman, but I think the back bushings back here, they're pretty bad. Yeah, they're just falling apart. So he gave me bushings with it. They're Amazon bushings, but I think I'm gonna throw them on there. And what else did he give me? Gave me one other thing. But yeah, I charged the battery yesterday, and by today it was already down to like 9 volts. So I think it's got some type of drain, even though this guy has this electrical thing going on. Maybe I have to use his little switch down there, I don't know, but I believe it kills it if you flip this switch. Well, apparently that switch does nothing, but if you do this one, that one will kill it. So, and then when the battery's full, the start will work. When I had it at 12 volts, yesterday it fired up. So I either need a new battery or I need to flip this switch every time it's off or figure out where the leak is. But that's kind of the situation. Funny enough, I think all the brakes work. I think the front, well, on the Polaris, a lot of the Polarises, the single caliper controls both front and rear brakes on the entire vehicle. So yeah, she should fire right up with a pull start. I think I'm just gonna buy a battery, clean her up, do this seat, and put her up for like 1700, I think is the goal. So I'll show you she runs. There we go. So yeah, good running Polaris Sportsman 335. It's like the weakest CC Sportsman they make, but it still does have the 4x4, and the 4x4 does work. So pretty good win. Yeah, let's go ahead and I think I'm gonna do this seat next, spit shiner, and call her done. Oh, I'll definitely do. I think I'll do an oil change and maybe check the valves on this thing. But I don't want to do too much. It's a good bike and should be an easy flip. So let's do it. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, get all these old staples out all through here. And just like that. All right, now we have open foam. Got all the old staples out of here. Makes it ready for the next step. What I like to do is make a pattern. Alright, so I started off with drawing out my pattern. Typically I just draw the most notable edge on the top of this, and then I get my full pattern. As you can see here, I trace my half mark and fold it, and then I copy it on the other side so that the two sides are identical. After that, I cut out my pattern and set it on there to make sure it was fitting good, and then I traced it on my vinyl material and cut out my side skirt pieces. And after that, I got to work sewing and putting this whole thing together. Only took maybe 5 minutes to sew it together, and then stapled it. So with stapling, what you can see here is I usually do the longest part of the seat from front to back, where it's got the most curve, and I do that length staples first and kind of get it pinned down, and then I work the part where it's got the most curve on it, like you can see here, and get those initial staples. It tends to go really well for me if I can get the hardest part done first. So I got that one staple there, hit it with the heat gun, and then pulled the other side down, and it definitely makes it much easier from that point on, because you kind of just got to work out little stuff from there, and I think that's the best approach that I've had. So basically from there, I kind of just kept hitting it all along and pulling it where I needed to. I think I did have to work it with the heat gun a few more times, and yeah, I think it's also pretty nice to have the right tool. If you use the actual upholstery stapler, it's a lot easier because you can get in those curves and those tight spots a lot easier. So after that, I just trimmed up the edge, and that's about it. And that is my finished seat. So any of these like indents and stuff, it's going to be the foam underneath, especially this right here. I can't do anything without doing foam repair, and that's a very tough spot because it's such thin foam to repair. The only real way to get this looking perfect would be to buy like a 1/2-inch piece of foam. I don't think I have any in here right now, but buy a 1/2-inch piece of foam and wrap the entire thing with staples before you put this piece on. And overall, I think that looks pretty sharp. It should look pretty good. It looks pretty straight. There's a little dimple here. But yeah, that's how I make my custom seats. Let's go throw it on the quad. Well, I don't know if anybody caught it, but there's actually a few staples sticking out here. There's a combination of two things. There's no foam here because this cut off early, it was damaged. So there's even less distance. But even worse is I had stapled in a little too close to this edge. So I ended up pulling these ones out and just stapling a little deeper. And now you can't feel them at all, even if you push all along here. So now there'll all be staples sticking out and hurting somebody. So it's not perfect. There are tiny pinholes, but they're pretty hard to see without the light being just right. So for resale, should be good. Alright, in the seat. Alright, Polaris is all finished up. Just did an oil change. And I skipped out on the bushings. I think it'll sell without doing the bushings. And all I did was the power wash. It actually looks pretty darn good. I might put tire clean on there. I think I have a buyer for this already for $1,700, so I don't know if I'm gonna even mess with it. So yeah, I think I'll just leave this for the next person, let them choose whether they want to do that or not. But pretty darn clean for the $800 I spent. I probably have what, $10 to $15 of material on the seat, because I buy this stuff in bulk and I do seats quite a bit. So I think the seat came out looking pretty good, if I don't say so myself. And it's been a good selling point for me to have a brand new seat cover on there, and I think it's a pretty good look when you put them on the Sportsmans especially. So so yeah, the starter actually doesn't work on this even with the full battery, because I'm gonna drop a new battery in there before I sell it, but it will jump if you hit it with the solenoid. So I'm pretty sure it's either a bad solenoid or a bad switch or something with the electronics that guy did messed it up. So I'm just gonna leave that for the next buyer or whoever buys it next, and it still will start every single time as long as you have the switch on and you give it a pull. I bumped up the idle speed a little bit, and it's been great since. So that concludes the Polaris Sportsman 335 flip bike. I think it'll be an easy sell. I'll let you know in the future if that's what I did. But yeah, if you watched till this far on this video, man, I really appreciate it. I'm a pretty small channel, but I do this for fun. And yeah, let me know what you think on this one, and let me know what you want to see me buy. I've got I think two or three more that I bought recently that I need to get in a video. I have the how-tos, or not the how-tos, the do they run on the cheap LTZ 400 I bought, and the yellow one. So those are coming up too as well. So let me know which one you're interested in the most, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.